the blame game. Do you find that when something goes wrong or you have a fight with someone, the first thing and your first thought is that they did this, or this is what happened in order for me to react the way I did? Do you always look for someone or something to blame on? If you do, then this video is for you, because I'm going to look at why we tend to point fingers and blame first and foremost, and ways to overcome that and actually take ownership and responsibility for yourself, and understand why you're so quick to point the fingers at other people and give other people that power over you. Because when you're playing the blame game, you are the victim in the situation. You've got this victim mentality. And why would you want to be the victim? If you haven't been to my page before, welcome. I'm Hamasa. I look at mental and emotional well-being as well as personal development and day-to-day issues. Please do subscribe to my page. So let's look at what it means to blame someone or something. Whenever something goes wrong, or you're faced with adversity, or you're going through something, or you've had a fight and there's been a misunderstanding, there are certain things you need to look at before you point the finger. Because even though other factors may play a part on this situation to take place, you also have a big part to play in it, or have some level of responsibility. And we need to be able to look back at situations and be able to take that responsibility and learn from where we're going wrong, and not always point the fingers at other people, because it just makes us look like we're always victimized and in turn kind of weak. And that's not what we want to come across like, nor what we want to be. So the first thing that I'd say for you to look at is that when you are really angry at something or situation, and then you feel like you found the source of the blame, thoroughly look and reflect at the actions of that person that you're blaming, and see that there isn't no hint of projection there. Because most times when we get angry about things or things trigger us, is because this is a wound in ourselves that we didn't bother looking into or healing, or we may not even be aware of that we have this trigger or wound. So the important thing is to understand that you are not projecting. Because a lot of times blaming someone comes from a place of fear, of facing what we did wrong, of facing taking responsibility, of facing the hurt we caused, the guilt that we might feel by taking that blame. So it's fear. So we're projecting something that we don't actually want to take responsibility for onto someone else. So make sure that that is not the case. And it's not something that you're fearful of facing or taking ownership for. My second tip would be that, are you sure that your expectations are reasonable of this person? Because a lot of the times there are certain things we do for people, or we think, oh, if this was asked of me, I'd never say no, and now this person's letting me down. Understand the context of the situation and what you're asking them, and also manage your expectations. People don't owe you things, so they may say no at times, they may not want to. It may not be convenient for you, and you may really get angry with that, but control that, because that's on you. Again, it's a form of projection. You shouldn't have such high expectations of the other people around you. Just because you do something for someone doesn't mean you do it so that they could do something back for you. You're doing it because out of your own free will and out of your own goodwill. You're not doing it so that people owe you favors. That's not the right intention behind doing things. So just because you've done something nice for your friend once and you suddenly ask them to do something out of the blue and they say no, don't take that so personal, and don't have such a high expectations. Understand that they might be tired, and so you can deal with it yourself or just reschedule for another time. Just make sure that your expectations are realistic of the people around you. The next thing to look at is that, am I actually angry at the right person? because sometimes our relationships could really cloud our judgment into who's really to blame. We tend to sometimes lash out or take it out on the people closest to us rather than our boss. So if you're angry at your boss and you go home to your partner and you start having a go at them over something very small, then that's not really fair. You're blaming them for something that happened elsewhere. So understanding the dynamic of how your relationships play part in who you're blaming and the actual source of your anger are two different things. So always make sure that your blame, if you are blaming someone for something, is directed at the right person. Next thing is that, are you actually understanding the person that you're blaming or even the situation? Or have you only got little drips and drabs of information and you don't have the big picture, and so you are making a biased decision on blaming someone or something? So you don't know the full story, or you've misunderstood something, and therefore you're walking around very angry and blaming someone. So in order to overcome that, you need to be conscious of when you are approaching the person that's angered you, that you ask questions instead of accusing, because you may have very well misunderstood what was said or done. So instead of blaming or assuming or accusing, try and ask and see what answers you get given, and then make a decision. Because it's very easy to let our anger and emotions run away with us and kind of lash out and not have all the information or understand the full picture. So it's important that you have understood it, and then there is room for you to be angry and possibly blame someone. And once you do understand and you do see what the part you've played and the part the other person played and how this all played out all together, can you really change the situation? So by blaming someone, is it really going to help or resolve the issue? And is it in your power? Because if it's not, you've got to learn to pick your battles. Not everything deserves your time, energy, and attention. Certain situations may be quite rotten from the start, and it's best to just walk away from them and not necessarily try and point blame. It is what it is, it's happened, and it's best to let it go. And lastly, I myself am very guilty of this, that when I'm hangry, I'm more snappy and blame things like, oh my God. So make sure that you've been rested, you're not cranky because of lack of sleep or lack of food, and that you're not just walking around blindly lashing out at people for no reason and blaming them for you not taking good care of yourself. It's very important, because things like that we may overlook on day-to-day basis, but it really does affect my mood personally, and so I'm sure some of you will be affected by lack of sleep and lack of food. So make sure that those are also tended to before lashing out at people around you. By blaming other people, you're giving away your power and you're playing the victim at all times. And like I said, it's never cute or attractive to have a victim mentality. Yeah, you may well be a victim in certain situations, and by all means you have a right to be upset about it, but then ruminating and moping around is never going to help yourself or anyone else. So even if you have been the victim, deal with your pain, face it, heal it, and then become proactive and move away. Instead of complaining all the time, see things in ways that you can change it and improve how you think and feel about the situation. And, take your power back. Take responsibility for your actions. Take ownership, and don't always look for things and people to blame for the role that you had to play in a situation. Hope you guys found this video helpful. If you have, please do share it with your friends, family, and whoever may need it. Please do subscribe to my page, like and comment on this video, and I will see you guys again here next week. Thank you so much for watching. Mwah.